The PCMA and MPX exchange have a new relationship that will help Canadian companies perhaps navigate the US capital market. So, with me, Martin Hacker, who's the COO of MPX, and Brian Kozak, the PCMA vice chair. And Brian, let's just start with what is PCMA and why is this relationship important with MPX?
Thanks, Jane. The PCMA stands for the Private Capital Markets Association of Canada. We started years ago, 2002. Myself personally, I joined, I think maybe around 2008 or so. I'm a corporate securities attorney, and part of why I joined is it's all about helping the private capital markets. And we're the voice of what we call the exempt market or private capital markets. And we help exempt market dealers who are registrants up here, issuers looking to raise capital, and industry professionals in the private capital markets. We serve a number of functions and roles. We assist our dealer and member firms in providing different benefits and services, education and training, do a lot of advocacy. Like I'm also personally the chair of our advocacy committee and writing letters to the securities commissions, et cetera, about various things that are going on. Most recently, artificial intelligence, which has all tongues wagging in terms of how it impacts both the US and the Canadian capital markets, and also developing new relationships as we've done today with MPX and sharing that relationship information in terms of how does that work for Canadian companies through their registered dealers to access capital in the United States.
Yeah. And Martin, explain what MPX offers the Canadian EMDs, why it matters.
First, let me, as Brian stated, there's many firms, Canadian financial firms, that are looking to access capital beyond their borders, beyond Canada itself, looking towards the US. But it's important to note, and that's why I'm going to take a step back, that in order to access the US institutional market, you need to be licensed as a broker-dealer. You either need to be licensed as a broker-dealer or you need to partner with another firm. And this is where MPX comes into play. This is where we come into play. We are a fintech, regtech company and a platform that provides the opportunity for foreign financial firms to compliantly market and transact with US institutional investors via our platform, leveraging an SEC regulation, 15A6, along with our US broker-dealer, which has the special licensing here. So what is 15A6? People might say, well, what does that really mean? It allows firms, it provides an exemption from firms to register as a broker-dealer, which all we know is extremely time-consuming, extremely costly. And what we do is we can oversee these firms through our technology and our platform to ultimately, I hate to use the term chaperone, but we're overseeing and handling all aspects of their activities into the US in a compliant fashion. This could be distributing research, this could be trading directly with the buy side, this could be capital raises for private placements, public placements, and all of which we handle within the technology itself. And there's two bits to the technology. One is Passport, which provides the onboarding capabilities. This is where firms go through the entire registration process, and we compliantly monitor them on the platform itself. And then we have another platform called Bridge. And Bridge is a digital marketplace. And I like to where all these deals and funds that our customers have put onto the platform are now available to the buy side, the investors to ultimately view. And I like to look at it this way. Passport provides you access to the party to a certain respect. You're now at the party, but you get to the party, you don't know who to deal with. You don't know anything about who's on the other side. And that's where Bridge comes into play and helping to match buyers and sellers through our unique technology.
Well, and let's talk about results. What has been the success that the Canadian EMDs have seen with MPX?
So let me take a little step back here. Overall, we now have 130 customers on the platform spanning 50 different countries, which is, we have large BDs, we have firms that are in trading firms, we have them all over. In Canada specific, we're just scratching the surface, I feel. We have just short of a dozen EMDs on the platform. These are EMDs as well as investment dealers that are on the platform using our services and technology as we speak right now. But if I really talk about the results, what we're seeing here is deals that are on the platform as small as 1 million all the way up to $100 million. I think what a lot of the Canadian EMDs and a lot of the firms thought, well, that US market is too big. And, these are big deals that need to be, and our deals are much smaller. And our results are showing differently. We can see deals on the platform for a million up to $100 million. And more importantly, we're seeing success with those deals. They are having success with the US institutional investor. Might be tens of thousands, it might be tens of millions. But overall, the numbers speak for themselves that the platform is working for the boutique, but the smaller firm as well as the larger firms alike.
Interesting. Brian, what does that track record say about the opportunity for Canadian companies?
Well, it's interesting, Jane. If you look at it from a Canadian perspective, or whether we go southbound or you go northbound into Canada, Jane, there's a border there, and rather than a physical border, there is a legal border in the sense that you have to comply with the applicable laws in both countries. And so, an EMD looking at accessing the U.S. capital markets, the world's largest capital markets, you are a little bit shy because you figure perhaps my deal size is not large enough. You think of a number of things that it's not ready, it's not game time. And in developing this relationship with MPX, discovered that it does fit EMDs of different sizes. And it's not all about $50 million, $100 million, because our deal sizes are different in Canada, dollar-wise or otherwise, than in the United States. So I think when we look at the numbers and the track record, I mean, we ultimately do not know. The track record is a successful investment in terms of everybody making money. It's not just capital raising, but to us, success is that you had that matchmaking. So, the bridge part, the visa part, or the passport part is just like you have to have a passport to go across the border. The MPX platform is your passport in a legally compliant manner. The bridge is, I don't know anyone, or I know a few people there. The bridge allows you to learn who you can access or speak to. You just can't call them up. And again, in a legally compliant manner. So the track record suggests that it is available and open to exempt market dealers as well as investment dealers. And the investment dealers are kind of equivalent to your FINRA regulated shops. And the exempt market dealer, imagine if you had a FINRA light and all you did is play in the private placement arena.
And Martin, I mean, how does MPX streamline these opportunities to institutional investors?
First, let me start with, which I think a lot of people will be very surprised to hear, that when a customer reaches out and starts the process with us, we can have them live within 7 days, a very short period of time, because we automated the entire journey. I like to call it as a journey, step by step. They can self onboard onto our platform. We ask all the questions. Things aren't being emailed back and forth. It's very done in a very secure fashion because we're taking a lot of very important information about the firms themselves, the individuals that will be marketing into the US. But we've automated the entire process and can have firms up and going within 7 days. This all starts with Passport itself. And this is where they self-register. They go through the entire process, and they will see steps along the journey where they are in the approval process, and in real time they'll be notified that they are now free to market on the platform itself. So where do they go from there? They tell us who they want to market to. We need to make sure that we understand the firms. Are they institutional investors? What's the AUM, so on and so forth? What products do they want to market? And we go through the various steps of that, making sure that the appropriate disclaimers. And then we track all their activities because it's important within the rule. There's steps along the way that in order for firms to be compliant, they need to follow these. But we have the technology that steps them through that entire journey of tracking everything, compliance reporting. And then, not only do I talk about the compliance, but all in a nutshell, there's a great digital dashboard that the CEO or an executive can use to oversee everything. I can see from a P&L perspective, I can see from a transaction perspective, I can see which firms we're dealing with, all within the streamlined process within this technology itself.
Yeah. And why is MPX especially good for smaller Canadian EMDs?
Well, it's interesting because traditionally these firms have been completely, to a certain respect, outpriced, or they don't think about it. They think we're too small. This is going to be too expensive. That the costs and the registration is going to take too time. It's too enormous, and that's clearly not the case with us. We provide the technology and the tools. I like to think of it that we're leveling the playing field. We're taking what the institutional players, the big guys have, that do have that registration, and providing it in a cost effective way to firms, allowing them to focus on what's key to them. What's key to them? They know their markets. They know what they're trying to do. They know that they're trying to raise capital. They don't want to be worried about the regulatory burdens or not knowing who to reach out to. And this is exactly the solutions that we've put into play, not only globally, but in specifically working with the PCMA and the exempt market dealers for solutions that meet their requirements. Um, Look, I try to look at it this way. You're an issuer in Canada. You're trying to raise capital, right? And then you'll talk to two different exempt market dealers. One of them has access, they both have access to, obviously, to the Canadian marketplace, the Canadian investor community. One of them has access to the US as well. Which one do you think that they're going to call? So they're probably going to call the one that has access to the US capital markets as well. So I think that this is really a big change, and something that is really something that's needed for the EMDs and for other financial firms that are not licensed in
Yeah.
Canada.
And Brian, what are some specific benefits that the relationship brings to PCMA members?
Well, the benefits, obviously, first and foremost, are the tech. I mean, gone are the days that you'd have to jump on a plane, go to the US, meet people physically in person. That's a lot of time, money, and effort. And so, with the ability to have this tech platform and have it all automated is just a huge benefit to make it easy and efficient to access the US capital markets. And MPX has that solution. They dialed it in. A lot of industry veterans, part of that company, and they understand the needs in capital raising. But in terms of the specific benefits, it's designed for the private capital markets. And that's our focus area as an association, helping exempt market dealers. And it works for firms of all sizes. You don't have to be a huge investment bank in order to avail yourself of those services, whether in Canada or other countries around the world. That's a huge advantage.
Yeah.
And obviously, MPX has experience working in the Canadian space with exempt market dealers as well as investment dealers. And that's helpful because they understand our language, they understand our needs, they understand how deals are done up here. And they support a different types of deals, diverse deals in terms of capital raising. It could be private equity, could be REITs, could be income, could be debt. It doesn't really matter. But what they do provide is a path, an opportunity. And what's exciting about this relationship is that never before have EMDs, for many, many reasons, including not just the cost, but also the fear of accessing the U.S. capital markets because they can't afford lawyers, they don't know who to speak to, work with other broker dealers. This has completely opened up the door. I think it's going to be a game changer, and it will really help Canadian companies that are working with an exempt market dealer to access the U.S. capital markets, to bring the capital to Canada to help develop all the industries and great companies and opportunities that are in our great nation.
Yeah. And Martin, how does the MPX passport and bridge system actually work in practice?
It's first of all, it's all online. It's an online market, online application that we built ourselves, as well as a digital marketplace. So you can think of Passport as your CRM type of a solution. This is managing the entire journey from start to finish, from all the compliance angles, monitoring the things that I was talking about earlier with all the various workflows in 15A6. It's very transparent. We get to see what they're doing. They see themselves. They own the data. They can download everything. So in practice, everything is there and readily available. And knowing that they're going to be compliant with all the books and records and the rule itself. We just recently went through a FINRA audit, flying colors there. So the technology really speaks to itself. Bridge, on the other hand, this is our new digital marketplace. And this is really where all the deals and funds that have been approved on the platform for the various financial firms are moved onto the platform. And this is where the fun starts. This is where our customers, our foreign financial firms, the EMDs in Canada, get to invite the buy side to view their offering on the platform itself. They might know a handful of people that they want to invite. They come onto the platform, they view the deals themselves and can interact with the deal. But just as important, when that buy side comes on, there's matching technology that they look towards that all of a sudden will present them with other opportunities. And this is where they might see something based on their preferences that matches them. And they say, this is of interest to me. And now the foreign financial firm that's sitting on the other side is, they didn't know these people. And this is where this matching starts coming into play. So we're taking the matching criteria. Now we're doing matching from both perspectives. We're matching the deals from an EMD's perspective. We're telling them who we think is the right people to be marketing to, and then from the investor's perspective, when they log on, we're using the profiles that they've set up and then matching them to the deals. So we're really honing in on electronically and technology wise success. Very different from people power. Very
Yeah.
different.
And since you mentioned success, what does that look like? I mean, if both of you could weigh in on this, I mean, how would you define long-term success of this relationship?
Well, Jane, that's the bottom line, as they say. We love our American friends in Canada, and we've been doing business for years. So to be able to develop this relationship is very important to all our members, including exempt market dealers and issuers who are raising capital. But success, really, Jane, it's three things. It's successful capital raising. That's the bottom line. And it's both for the exempt market dealer that they close the transaction, they raise capital, and for investors that they make money with what they invested in. Two, just as important, Jane, it's access to new relationships and a broader investment base in the United States of America. That's very important for companies up here looking to raise capital. And lastly, and most importantly, and this is what MPX is all about, it's the ability to raise capital in the United States of America in a legally compliant manner and in an efficient manner, which is what the RegTech, the FinTech, the platform MPX is all about.
Okay, and Martin?
From our perspective, it's quite simple. I think a lot of it resonates with what Brian just said. But we'd like to see more Canadian firms routinely accessing. I don't want it to be a specialty. I'd like to see more and more firms and being able to provide this across the board to more financial institutions, EMDs, so they're routinely, compliantly accessing the markets itself. But if I start thinking about my technology itself and put that hat on, we're expanding upon the matching capabilities. We're leveraging more AI now to intelligently step into and start finding nuances in various aspects of deals to actually find that appropriate investor on the other side. I think the big hope, and I wouldn't say it's a hope because we're really focusing toward that, but imagine a Canadian portal that has promoting all Canadian opportunities that are on a single platform, but not only to US institutional investors, but global investors, all in a very simply compliant fashion. We're clearly moving that way from the US perspective, but we see this moving well beyond that and actually making that globally available. And I'm going to echo what Brian just said, about the partnership here. Look, I've lived 15 years up in Canada. I was on Bay Street for a number of years. It is home to me. It is a tremendous place. So dear to my heart. So we're looking very forward to this partnership here with Brian and the PCMA and to the next steps going ahead.
Yeah. Well, best of luck. It's always great, to hear, especially some the small and medium-sized businesses be able to expand as well. So, thank you so much for sharing the
That's
details
amazing.
of this relationship, and look forward to updates down the road.
Thank you, Jane.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Jane.
Martin.
It's a
Thanks.
pleasure.
Uh-huh.